Today I'm going to be sharing my long-awaited 2019 planner setup, but before I show you what I'm using to plan for the new year ahead, I thought we could take a little walk down planner memory lane because in preparation for this video, I went ahead and watched all my previous planner setup videos and pulled out as many of my planners from the previous years as I could to kind of get a sense of how my planning has evolved and changed and what I've learned about planning over the past 5 years. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. We are gonna jump right in. Hello my charmed ones, and welcome back to my channel for another video. If this is your first time with me, I would like to say welcome. My name is Alexis, but I'm also known as MissTrenchcoat all across the internet. I'm an online entrepreneur who designs and sells productivity tools, strategies, and skills to help you manifest success with less stress. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave some links down below in the description box where you can check out more of my work online, and feel free to download some of my latest free productivity tools over at thecharmedshop.com. So as I mentioned in the intro, I actually went ahead and pulled out all of the planners that have ever been in one of my planner setups or has been like one of the major planners that I've used for a year. And I have watched all of my planner setup videos back from the first one, which was in 2015. It was actually in 2014, but it was for 2015 setup. So this is actually the 5th anniversary of this video, which is insane. But I've got a lot of different planners with a lot of different lessons contained inside of these. And I thought before we get to the planner I'm using for 2019, we could jump into analyzing all of these, what worked, what didn't, and what I learned. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so let's start with our walk down planner memory lane. I was actually able to find most of the planners that I used all the way back from 2014. And I have some interesting thoughts on the evolution of my planner setup for you. So of course, since everything I'm showing you today has a video archive, I will link as many videos and resources as I can in the description box for this video if you want some extra inspiration. And just to keep things organized, I will try to list everything with the most current year's information first, and then you can work your way backwards down the years so that if you see something that you want more information on that's more recent, more relevant, it'll be higher up on the list. But just make sure to check the description box because there is a lot of information and a lot of planners. I can't even really show you. This is like a huge stack on my desk right now. So let's go ahead and start with 2014. I'm just gonna push this to the side. Now, 2014 was the year I first got fully introduced to the planner community in terms of using ring-bound planners. And so, like many in the community, I went through a bunch of planners in 2014, many of which I do not still possess. However, I do have some of the 2014 inserts that I archived in this personal size punctuate planner from 2014. So actually, if we take a look inside of this planner, the bulk of the inserts that are inside of this are from a personal size Kate Spade, as you can see if you recognize these sorts of whimsical designs that Kate Spade did. And this planner was a month on 2 pages with a week on 2 pages. Now, if you recall back to 2014, I did use a mix of personal and A5 sized planners because I was still kind of getting my feet wet in the planner community. So this is an archive of some of the inserts that I was using. And for a good portion of this year, the beginning of 2014, I still worked at my Fortune 50 job before I went full-time for myself. But you can actually see that well, it looks like into June I was still using this, but mid-year I started moving into different types of inserts. And I actually started, it looks like in November, using my actual own custom inserts, which of course would have been around the time, October, November was around the time that I launched the Charm Shop, which is my shop where I actually sell my print-on-demand planner PDFs that are all my original designs. So that is when I really started using a planner that was mostly designed by me. And in this setup here towards the end of the year, again, it is month on 2 pages, which I was always pretty much since the beginning using my month on 2 pages as a editorial calendar for my blog and YouTube. So you can see like on Sunday, the 2nd of November, 2014, I must have done a video on Target sugar paper planners because it's listed here. And I did holiday shopping apps on my blog on Tuesday, the 4th of November in 2014. So that was always how I used my month on 2 pages. It was always used as an editorial calendar for the most part with some holiday things listed as well, like Black Friday. And for my notes, I would keep my favorites because I was really big into tracking my favorites at that time. So down the side, I would, track my favorites. I would put my monthly goals down at the bottom here. It looks like I had one of the goals that I don't have scratched out is read 2 books. I don't know if I read them or not, can't tell you. So that is the end of 2014 in terms of the months. But then my weekly inserts were these vertical week on 1 page designs that I had come up with in order to help me to reorganize my week in a way that was a little bit easier. Week on 2 pages in terms of like the vertical, or I should say horizontal layout like this, never really worked for me. I was always someone that was more drawn to vertical layouts. And at this point in time, I really liked using this week on 1 page, which unfortunately is an insert that was just recently actually retired from my shop. But I loved this. It gave me the ability to put events and tasks and dinners. And you could see I did a little bit of sort of decorating for Halloween and things like that. So this was really helpful to me. Now this leads me to my 2015 planner setup, which I shared in a video in December of 2014. So in this video, I was using these 2 beautiful fluoro pink Filofax original binders, one in personal and one in A5. Now, when it comes to this personal one, I do not still have those inserts in my archive. But I can tell you that the inserts I used were pretty much from my shop and are in line with the inserts that are actually in here for the end of 2014. But rewatching that setup video, I was using month on 2 pages calendar as my editorial calendar for my blog and YouTube. Then I was using that week on 1 page insert for my weekly planning, followed by my project planning bundle, which consisted of my month on 1 page calendar and my yearly project tracker, as well as project planning pages. And I think I have some examples here. Here we go. This was the month on 1 page sheet that I would use. I don't think I have any of the other project sheets in here. Now, the final sections of the personal planner were reference sections. So these had pages devoted to different lists like brain dumps, wish lists to buy, chores, and miscellaneous other lists that I kept on hand. Then, as the second part of the system in the A5 binder, I actually use this as my 43 folders system. And I do still have the inserts for this inside of here because I have since updated it to just kind of modernize it a little bit for myself. Now, you may remember that I actually removed my rings from this binder in 2017, so they're not actually attached anymore, but this was the original setup of the 43 folders that I had created back in 2014, I guess, and was my 43 folder system, also known as a tickler file or a revolving filing cabinet. So this was the place where I would keep miscellaneous paperwork that I didn't need at the time. It was things that were maybe for future planning, and I could actually just file it away in to the appropriate month file. And that is actually where the term 43 folders comes from. 43 in terms of there is 1 folder for each of the months of the year. And then there's 1 folder for every day that could be in a month. So up to 31. So 31 plus 12 is 43. And I actually have a video that is going to be linked down below for how you set this up. So this is kind of like a revolving filing cabinet sort of things that I use just to keep track of things that were more for future planning. So now I want to share with you a little bit about what I learned from this planner setup and from using my planner in 2014. So the first thing I learned was that even though I went through a lot of different binders in 2014, like I said, just like a lot of people in the community, I think when you first get into planning, you try a lot of things out to kind of get your feet wet and see where you belong. So I definitely went through that period of time in 2014 where I tried a lot of different things out. But even though I did that, I stuck to the idea that you should only use one planner for your actual tasks and time management items. So yes, I do use more than one binder or planner for the sake of my organization, but I keep all of my plans in one planner. There is certainly more than one way to use a binder for planning without it being your planner per se, but I think all your calendar and tasks should be laid out in one binder. And that's definitely a big thing that I learned in 2014, was to keep all of my tasks and time management things in one place. And in 2014, it was this file of facts. Now, the second thing that I learned is that project planning for me is an essential strategy for successful planning. I know the idea of project planning seems daunting to some, but to me, projects are just multi-step tasks that complete a specific objective. So I consider many simple things projects, and I think part of the secret to my success has been that I approach all types of tasks with this project mentality where I am clear on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and when it needs to be done. So that was another big thing that was really integrated into my planning in 2014 was project planning for sure. Now, the third and final thing that I learned from this setup was that performing regular brain dumps can help you keep track of more information in terms of tasks, events, and ideas. And when you do end up tracking things, you're more likely to accomplish them or follow through with them. So I know I wasn't really able to show you the exact setup that I had from 2015 in that video. You can definitely check it out for yourself. But a big part of that, like I said, was the reference section where I would put regular brain dumps. So that was another big concept of planning that kind of came to me in this period of time. That was a really major takeaway for my evolution of planning. So I used the two fluoro filofaxes for 2015, but of course, me and my planner continued to evolve. So 2015 was something of a landmark year for me in terms of planning because I really got into the idea of creating my own personal planning system. So when it came time at the end of 2015 to film my planner setup for 2016, things took a little bit of a surprising turn. In my 2016 planner setup video, I shared 3 binders. First, and the biggest change, was that I had created my own spiral-bound planner that included a complete system of inserts of my own design, known as the Charmed Life Planner. Each month included my month on 2 pages, a master monthly task list, and an expense sheet. And then it went into week on 2 pages in that vertical list style. So that is what made up the first section of this planner. You can see all of these inserts until we get to the second section, which is my project section. So it starts with the yearly tracker and then went into project planning sheets. So in this iteration of the planner, I didn't actually end up needing my month on 1 page anymore. And that's because, as you saw in my planner, I actually started keeping a master monthly task list in the beginning of each month. So that was something that ended up swapping in my system because I had integrated that concept of having 1 page per month where I listed out all of my project related tasks into the calendar system itself. Of course, within my project planning section, I also kept things like lists of my blog posts and my YouTube videos and additional tasks. And then the final section of the planner was for notes and lists. Now, the other 2 binders used in this setup were this A5 GG New York notebook cover that was used for notes, and the personal-sized Franklin Covey macaroon binder that kept daily planning inserts that were intended to be an entrepreneurial journal for me. So this notebook system did end up getting used in 2016, but the journal did not end up working out for me. But these were the 3 planners that were seen in the 2016 planner setup. So now let me walk through a little bit about what I learned from this setup. Number 1, I learned that A5 or half letter was the size for me. Personal just didn't work out for me. I needed that extra room of a half a sheet of paper to plan, which is why my planner went from that personal Filofax to a A5 half letter style planner. The second thing I learned was that I had created my ideal planner system with the Charmed Life Master Planner and project planning inserts. And comparing to the setup from the year before, you can see that the basic system was there, just using less optimal inserts. So the inserts that I was using in my 2014 Fluoro Pink Filofax were essentially the same thing. Month on 2 pages, a vertical weekly insert, project planning, and then a resource section for brain dumps, lists, notes, etc. So really, when it came to 2016's planner, I had really just started to refine that system a little bit more and make it a little bit more of a continuous planner system as opposed to just separate inserts that I was creating sections for in my planner, if that makes sense. Now, the third and final thing I learned from this setup was that I have a need for extra note pages to help me outline ideas before I create project plans. But because of the limitations of most traditional binding systems, I had to keep those in a separate binder. So you may have noticed in the previous setup, I didn't really have a note section in that planner. But it was very important for me the next year to have a place where I kept notes, because I am someone who likes to pre-plan and just sort of sketch out ideas before I actually turn them into project plans and then schedule them into my calendar. So this notebook became my go-to place to do those notes before I would go and plan things out in my planner. So I used, or at least tried to use, these 3 binders for 2016, but it became annoying really to have so many pieces to work with. Even if my planner was contained in one actual binder, I still felt like the whole system was too much, even though, like I said, I didn't really end up using this guy with that entrepreneurial journal. So by the end of 2016, when it came time to set up my planner for 2017, I had found a creative solution. So my system moved from the 3 binders to 1 thanks to the flexibility of this GG New York notebook cover and some ingenuity and inspiration from the planner community. Inside the notebook cover, I was able to keep 2 systems in one binding. On one side, I was able to store a disc-bound version of the Charmed Life Planner, and it was set up nearly the same as the year before, but no longer constrained by the spiral binding. Obviously, right now I just have 2 spiral notebooks in here, but imagine this side was a disc-bound planner at one point for 2017. And then on the right, I was able to actually tuck away a spare notebook. It actually may have been this same notebook or another one that was similar in that original video. So honestly, this system was great. It really was. It solved a lot of issues for me, and this is what I ended up learning from my 2017 setup. Number 1, I learned that the Charmed Life Planner and the project planning inserts were absolutely the system for me with very few issues. They just work so well. Number 2, I learned that I really like it when all my plans are in one place. It's hard to get this to happen, unfortunately. And yes, technically, even in this system, it was 2 pieces in one cover, but for me, it really felt like I had everything in one place finally. And then third, I learned that I really needed to get realistic with my expectations of my planner. I cut out a lot of fluff from my system this time around in order to get things to fit in here. An example of which would be that journal idea that just didn't work out for me. Even though I really like the idea of using the journal, it just wasn't something that worked for me on a practical level. And I think so many of us stuff extra elements into our planners because our eyes are bigger than our binders. But we need to get realistic about what we use and what we need so we can make room for what matters in our planners. So I lived a productive year with this single binder system, but eventually the need to simplify the system further began to arise. It just felt too big. Yes, I had solved the problem of the single binder, but the bulk was getting to me. So for my 2018 planner system, I stripped things down to the absolute basics with an ARC disc-bound cover, my Charmed Life Planner, and project planning inserts, and of course, a note section for brain dumping and pre-planning. This was by far my most streamlined planner setup. It was usable and still portable, as well as elegant. The system really helped me to see my planner in a new light. And actually, as soon as I started using this, more compact system in 2018, I went straight to work on a redesign project that turned into me publishing the first bound version of the planner into the Charmed Life Master Planner. Now, this has to be a landmark planner moment number 2 for me, because with the master planner, I began to realize my planner system goals. I ended up using the first iteration of this bound master planner from about February or March to September, which was when I began to bring the master planner redesign into my printable planner insert design as well. So once I had seen the new dated master planner, I decided to once again move back into a disc-bound system to test the new inserts. And you may remember this beautiful iridescent binder that actually holds my disc-bound. And this contained the latest iteration of my print-on-demand master planner, which was now dated. Now that brings us to where we are today. And before I introduce the planner system that I'm using for 2019, I want to sum up everything that I've learned over the past few years about my system. The first thing that I've really learned about my planning and how I plan is that I really want to use one single portable system. You could see that year over year, my system kept changing, and usually to help me accommodate for what I wanted to be doing with my planning and then streamlining into one actual binder as much as possible. So that is something I've absolutely learned through this entire process over the past 5 years. The second thing that I learned is the importance of being realistic. Now, I'm not someone who really needs to have like a big binder like this with a lot of storage that I never end up using. What ends up happening is I use my inserts and then I just tuck things into, the different slots and the different card holders, but they're never really things that I actually need. They're just there to be pretty. And for me, I would rather forego having a giant binder to really just have the portability of a single planner system that works for me more the way this was one single bound planner for me. And then the third thing I've learned is that my ideal system consists of 3 essential planner sections in one. First is a calendar for task and time management. Second is project plans for organizing my objectives, and the third is a note section for generating and mapping out ideas before they become solidified plans. So keeping those 3 lessons in mind, here is my planner system for 2019. Ta-da! Yes, this is a new 2019 version of the book-bound master planner. This is just a second cover option because the stripes were really highly requested from my community, but I did make a few updates to the interior of this planner as well. So before we actually crack into this beauty so I can show you some interesting setup ideas, I want to discuss the binding for just a moment. Yes, I realize that the book binding doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. Now, if you like the idea of the master planner and the actual system, but you don't want the book binding or you need a different size because you either use a personal size planner or perhaps you use like a full letter planner, you can get the print-on-demand PDFs from my shop of this system. I have 3 versions. One is in personal size, one is an A5 half letter, which is equivalent to what we've got here. And then the last one is an A5 or full letter version. So you can get the exact same system in the most popular sizes and then print and bind them in whatever planner system you like. They work for Filofax, KikiK, Discbound, Levenger, Kate Spade, DokiBook, and more. All of the planners that are sized in the personal Filofax range, A5 half letter, or A4 full letter equivalents will work. Also, if you just want to get 1 or 2 of the sections of this planning system without buying them all, I do sell them in separate bundles. So you can build your own planner system to fit your specific needs. Of course, again, links will be down below to where you can purchase yours. Now, going back to my planner for 2019, you can immediately see something that I have added that does not come standard with the planner, and that is a set of planner tabs. These are my printable planner tabs from my shop that you can buy, and you can edit the labels for whatever your system needs. And then you print it out on sticker paper and cut them up and apply them to your planner. So I added these labels to help me find information and sections quicker than flipping through, and I actually really love the way they look here. If you can see, I think they're very beautiful and elegant. And just to talk about durability for a moment, I have used these tabs for a few years in certain binders, and they actually hold up very well. Yes, they're made of sticker paper, but if you're not especially hard on your planner, which I'm pretty light on my planner, they do tend to last a year, 2 years, 3 years, etc. I've actually had some in planners that have been there for a few years at this point, so I can attest to the relative durability of them. Next, going inside, let me show you some of the new layouts that are in this planner. Most of this is the same, and I have started filling this out already, but one of the changes I made was the yearly calendar. I did put like a year on 2 pages with the little mini monthly calendars in here so that you have that year at a glance for reference. Then I added my yearly tracker. Now, I personally use this spread to keep track of specific moon phases just for my own reference, but people often use this spread for tracking health concerns, vacations, billable hours, etc. There's so many different ways you can use this tracker. And finally, I also added a yearly overview, which I haven't actually started filling out yet, but I'm going to turn this into my marketing calendar for the year, where I can map out special content or promotions that I'm going to be doing for my business. Now, I know that many of you have been waiting for me to announce the free printable versions of the tracker and the overview for 2019, and I will leave the link down below to where you can get them because they are available. Now, moving on, you can see the basic outline of the spreads for this calendar. We've got, again, month on 2 pages. Then we have monthly tasks. Now, a change that did happen with this dated version of the planner was that I swapped the expense sheet for a monthly habit tracker, which I personally think is so much more convenient for people. And then, of course, we've got my weekly plan, which is the vertical week on 2 pages. And again, it continues through the months for the full year of 2019. The next section, the second section, of course, is my important project section. And I have gone ahead and covered some private information because, like I said, I have started filling this out. But this is kind of an overview of that yearly project tracker. And then, of course, comes my project plans. And the third and final section is the brilliant ideas section, which is where I have the room to do brain dumps, brainstorming, and to take additional notes. Finally, at the end of the planner, we do have an index, which is used for tracking the content and what pages those content are on for quick reference, especially since this is bound and all of the pages are numbered. It's helpful to be able to create an index for yourself if you have certain things that you don't want to lose track of. So that is my setup for 2019. I hope you enjoyed this video and learning about how I have progressed with my planner setups over the past few years. In the new year, I plan to create some more useful videos giving you ideas for how to plan using some of these different spreads. Specifically, I have been asked to show how I use the Brilliant Ideas section, and you can actually see that I've already started working on things and prepping for my year here. You can see that I'm using the brainstorm and plan and prep sheets to put together my business plan by mapping out month and content and marketing and different offers. So here you can see here's more of a blank one for my Q2 business plan, and I have the months, and I have space for content, marketing, and offers that I can just sort of outline ahead of time and pre-plan before it turns into a project plan and then becomes something I actually act on. So make sure you're subscribed and you stay tuned for the new year because I have a lot of new great content that's coming out for you in 2019. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed watching this walk down planner memory lane with me. And don't forget to check out the description box for links to different video setups and different resources. If you are interested in something that you saw or want to learn more, I'm going to post everything that I can, including the free downloads for the yearly overview and trackers that I know many of you have been waiting for, down in the description box. So don't forget to check that out. And of course, I want to hear from you. What planner are you going to be using for the new year, and how do you have it set up if it's not an already bound system? I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know about it so we can have a little chat about different planner systems. If you enjoyed the video and found it entertaining or informative, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it with any planner buddies that you think would find it helpful as well. If you want more of the behind the scenes of my productivity, life, and business, make sure you're following me on Instagram at MissTrenchcoat. And if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more awesome videos by me. And until next time, bye-bye.